And guys, let's move on. We're going from NFL to MLB and the Cubs. And the Cubs are doing Cub things, and that's coming from a Cubs fan, too. Win the World Series in 2016, but usually we know how to fuck shit up and lose when it comes to, what, do you think I was turning the mics off?
Yeah, I thought you were going to know to fuck shit up, and I thought we had to stop because you turned off the mics.
No, the Cubs just know how to blow games. We're terrible on the road. We can't win close games because our bullpen absolutely sucks.
Yeah, they do.
I will ask you guys because obviously my answer will be a little biased because I'm hopeful and I hope we win the NL Central. But the Cubs right now, half a game behind the Cardinals, 3 games ahead of the Brewers, unless it's changed while we're recording this live. And it hasn't.
Games haven't finished.
But Sean, we'll go to you first. Are the Cubs going to win the Central? Or is this going to be a wild card and I have to sit through another loss to the Rockies?
No, this team's going to absolutely win the Central. This is coming from a Sox fan. I think looking at this division, there is one clear team that is underperforming and has the most talent, and they both happen to be the Cubs. You look at this road record, and they have a worse road record than the Chicago White Sox. Mm-hmm. The White Sox are barely even closing in on, I think they're 6 games away right now. This is standing up today. 6 games away from hitting their win record last year, and that was like 62. So
they're 56 and 68.
Yeah, so it's not a good boast to be like, oh yeah, we're almost as good as that other team on the South Side when it comes to being on the road, but that team only has 56 wins. I look at what the Cubs have been doing and what they have on their team. You look at the starts that they've been getting consistently out of Jose Quintana and Yu Darvish and just been wasting them and not being able to get wins out of them. That's been the most disheartening thing. And this lineup has been pretty stagnant outside of Nicholas Castellanos' red-hot bat, and he kept it up today with hitting a home run. And that's even changing or seems to be changing with Anthony Rizzo. He's been pretty much gone from June to July. He's just been absolutely quiet. But then you look at Sunday, he gets 3 walks, hits a home run, and now he's got 2 home runs this game against the Giants. So hopefully he's coming back around for the Cubs. I just think with Rizzo, Bryant, Baez, all guys have been in MVP contention. If outside, even Bryant even won one, have been in MVP contention before. Nicholas Castellanos is swinging an absolutely red hot bat. You're going to be getting Contreras back at some point. He's an all-star, and you might be getting Zobrist back, which he might not be.
September 1.
Yeah, he might not be a great add, at least from a bat wise, but he is going to be a leader in that locker room. Mm-hmm. He's going to be better than Daniel Descalso. So I'm a little iffy about their bench, but overall, when you look at the talent on their team, multiple All-Stars when it comes to the rotation, multiple All-Stars when it comes to the lineup, and you have former All-Stars in the bullpen as well, like Craig Kimbrell being the guy. They're not playing up to that level yet, and they're definitely not performing at that level right now, outside of probably Bryant and Baez, but they do have the talent to win games, and the fact that they're sitting at 66 and 58, I believe, right now, with a 23 and 37 road record, like that is something that is completely out of nowhere, and that's something that's just not acceptable for Cubs fans. And I think you're showing it right now that you're so worried that this team might not even win the NL Central.
Well, there's 2 things that make me worry, and number 1 has to do with, it makes me worry, and then at the same time it doesn't make me worry because the team that we'd be playing doesn't scare me, because when have they ever scared me? And that's the Nationals.
It's a lot of talk.
The Nationals have been one of the teams where I feel like they are going to, the year that Strasburg was on an innings limit and they shut them down. And they're like, no, that was their chance to win the World Series, and you fucked up because you told your ace that he can't pitch no more. And they would have easily gone to the series. I don't know if they would have won it that year, but I think they would have gone to the series in the NL. And I think that's going to stay with them for a while. Plus, it's like, they've always been the team, even with Bryce Harper, it's like they couldn't win after that. And it's like that they were one of the teams that we knocked out in the divisional round in our consecutive streak to get to the NLCS. I worry about playing them on the road if they're the team, because obviously if we're the wild card, we'll have to go and play on the road. That worries me. A do-or-die game on the road where we have struggled this year. The other thing that makes me worry is, yes, we've got some good home games coming up. We play about, 7 games in the division when it comes to Brewers and Cardinals. 7 games on the road, 7 games at home. So hopefully the home games can outweigh the road games. But I just have a weird, uneasy feeling that we're going to play really good from the 13th of September to the 22nd because we have 3 series at home against Pittsburgh, Cincy, and then the Cardinals. And then, to me, what's going to happen, it's very uneasy to me to have the last 2 series of the season come down to road games because I have a feeling that unless the Cardinals explode, that last season 3-game series could be whoever wins 2 out of 3 wins the division.
And the biggest thing with that, and Dave, we'll get to you. I just want to put this out. I mean, you should be terrified of those last 2 series because the Cubs have not won a road series against the NL Central outside of this Pirates one, and some people are even discounting it because one of the games happened in Williamsport. Yeah. They haven't won a road series outside of that Pirates one against a team in the NL Central. They've dropped every single series outside of that one on the road to the NL Central foes. Like, they have not been able to win on the road against their, in the division, and that's what's really killing them. Like, if they were winning some of these road games, like 25 of these road games, I think Dave, you pulled it up, that they had 25 road wins. If they were winning like half of those against the NL Central, like, that would be all right or whatever, good shape, but it's not the case, and that's what's going to end up killing you, especially when you have those last 2 series, to end the season like that.
Yeah, no, literally 3 teams in the MLB have better home records than the Cubs. It's ridiculous how good they are at home, and when I look to why the stumbles are happening, we know it's the bullpen, but before then, I'm just going to be obvious here and say Madden's not getting it done anymore.
You think he gets fired at the end of this year?
I think if he doesn't win, he's going to get fired.
Doesn't win the division, doesn't win a World Series. Like, what's the bottom line?
One, he's not getting fired technically because his contract's going to be up. So he's not going to be renewed. And I disagree that it's on Madden. I think it's personally more on Jed and Theo, to be honest. I look at what Joe Madden has done, and I mean, what do you want Joe Madden to do? Like, these guys are
supposed to motivate the talent,
but they are motivated, and that's the thing is I think there's a lot of pressure being put on them because right out of the get-go, Theo's like, oh, you got to start winning right away. Opening every day is opening day. You need to, we're not going to fuck around this year, and we're going to start off the gates hot. They didn't do that. And they were started like 1-7 to start the season, and they looked absolutely atrocious. But I think Joe Madden has done a decent job of keeping these guys' spirits up because they could be in a much worse space when it comes to where they are at in their mind. And Nicholas Castellanos talked about it today too, where he heard the rumors when he came over here about night versus day and home versus road. Like, these
are the wind's blowing in and the wind's blowing out.
Well, that really hasn't taken a factor yet, but it might at some point. But with that, I mean, a big thing with this is just I don't think Madden has control over this. Like, yes, Madden is in there every single day, but at what point can you tell these guys everything they need to do? Like, he's saying you don't need to take batting practice every single day because we want you to take as much pressure off as possible. Just go out there and perform. We're not going to tell you to be in these certain spots all the time in the outfield. We're going to let you just use your reaction, and because you've been in the field before, you've been playing baseball your whole life, you know where to be on a baseball field. You know how to react. Like, on certain shifts, we'll move you over.
He's going completely hands-off approach, trying to give them faith in themselves as a confidence booster, which I understand what he's doing. I'm just saying that if it's falling on deaf ears after a certain point, this was a team that, 4 years ago was looking like it was going to be a dynasty of young talent, great contract situation, and right now with 1 ring, I mean, Ricky, you're the Cubs fan here. Do you feel like all expectations are fulfilled because it was just getting the monkey off the back, getting rid of the curse? All of that was such a big accomplishment that anything after that's just bonus? Or do you feel like the expectations were this group was supposed to make it happen and keep making it happen?
There's a part of me that the reason why I'm not driving myself crazy is at least we got one. If my lasting moment was Rajai Davis hitting that home run over the left field wall, which I was sitting in that exact chair that you were in. Maybe that exact chair, because Sean and I were on that side of the table.
Yep.
I remember exactly what we were doing. We called the basketball game for our college. We came in here to do NFL preview videos, and then we watched some of that game. And I remember that like it was yesterday, being destroyed when Rajai Davis just little pull shot. If that was my lasting memory, I'm sitting here a different guy. Like, I'm panicking. Yeah. But at the same time, this was when we got Joe Madden, when we got Theo.
Yep.
This was supposed to be how many World Series can we? And after we won 1, it's like, holy shit.
This is ahead of schedule.
If we don't win like 2 out of the next 4, like people were talking 2 out of the next 4, 3 out of the next 5, like then it's a failure for the Cubs. And I know baseball's a long season, and it's also one of the only sports where it's like, you can be hot at the beginning of the season, but if you go cold, like it's an entire year's worth.
Exactly. We see teams go on runs all the time.
And plus, like, you get into time, like, especially in Chicago, you get into October, it gets cold. Like, you're dealing with weather to where it's like, should we be playing baseball when
it could be
snowing?
95 or it could be 25.
Exactly.
There's literally no telling.
My only question that I think of, and maybe this is me being too harsh, and this is why I almost agree with Sean of where it's more on Theo and Jed, is if you're going to, if let's say bullpen's the problem, why did we go out and get Castellanos and not get a big bullpen arm?
You needed Castellanos. Castellanos was a need to this lineup. You needed a guy who was going to be able to hit left-handed batters because they did not have that in the outfield. Albert Amora wasn't doing shit for this team. Addison Russell wasn't doing shit for this team with the bat. Bodie was just sent down to AAA because he wasn't doing anything with the bat either. They needed a bat in that lineup. That was desperately necessary. And you're right. They did need to go out and get another bullpen piece. And they thought that was David Phelps. And Phelps has been absolutely fine in his time right now in Chicago, but he is not a late inning, 7, 8, 9 inning guy. He is, strictly a guy to eat up innings for certain situations against righties and for that 6th and 5th innings and those spots right there. They are not, they didn't go out and get a Felipe Vasquez from the Pirates. They didn't go out and get a big name arm. They strayed away from those guys. They didn't go out and get a Ken Giles from Toronto either. I think it happens to be, their big move was to get Craig Kimbrell. And they needed to plead, I think, with the Ricketts to fork over that money to be able to go out and get Craig Kimbrell. But even then, Kimbrell has extremely struggled this year. He has an ERA over 5, I believe, and a WHIP over 1.5. I mean, he's allowing pretty much 2 guys at least, or 2 to 1 guys on base every single time he goes out there. He is struggling to get guys to lay off that fastball and to chase the stuff in the dirt. Like, Craig Kimbrell is not the same guy like he was in Atlanta. He was not the same guy he was, I think, in his second year with Boston. He really fell off in 2018, and he wasn't even used in that last out for the Boston World Series. It was Chris Sale. So I think with Craig Kimbrell, that was their big bullpen move, but that hasn't really even paid out with that. And again, Joe Maddon can only work with what he's dealt with. And some of these guys just aren't producing. And some of these guys are not just scouted well enough. Like, Addison Russell didn't have enough time down in AAA, I think, to fully get used to baseball. He was making mental errors out there, and Joe even called him out. Joe called him out in the media to be like, this guy doesn't know his signs. And, when do you hear Joe Maddon calling out people? Like, Joe Maddon, I think, was getting to a point where he was like, it's not on me. Like, this is a thing where I've done everything that I've done.
You're telling me on the one hand that you got all-stars, you got all the talent in the world in this team. You should, by all means, be the best team, and you're not putting it together.
In the division. In the division, they are. And
I know that.
But they still are extremely close to being that, even with underperforming.
I understand. The question is if you can't motivate your team as a manager, like, what is the value? You're already telling them, we trust yourself. You know where you should be. You know what you should be doing. So you're already going like Zen Master on them, and you're laying your hands off, the coaching there. So it's like, what is the expectation? How do you get talent to perform if it's not coming from the guy who's supposed to be calling the shots for this group? Does it need to come within the clubhouse?
I think that's
player
the thing.
Stepping up.
Yeah, it's the lack of player leadership on there, because I think once David Ross left, it was supposed to be seen on Anthony Rizzo, and I think the reports have come out that he hasn't been that guy. Not that he hasn't been a guy to perform well. I mean, outside of that stretch in March, and he's performing well now, at least in the past 2 games. But he hasn't been a guy to step up and be a leader. And you've seen some sparks of it. You look at the Sunday Night Baseball broadcast, and he was able to, Joe Maddon has talked about getting Yu Darvish into the clubhouse, integrated into the clubhouse's culture. And Rizzo tried to do that by helping, being like, getting you involved with the stuff that he wanted to do, having, him give the ball to the Team Japan team and have Darvish translate for him. Like, I think, a big thing with Rizzo is, he hasn't been able to take over that leadership role. And that would be the one thing that I think is lacking for the Cubs. And I think that's why Joe Maddon, you see him calling out Nicholas Castellanos, because Castellanos is coming out there, he's performing, he's saying every single day is opening day. And Castellanos, and he's talked about Castellanos, like he added a hunger to this team, and I think that's something that was missing. I mean, Joe Madden can't teach hunger. Joe Madden can't teach these guys to turn it on. If he screams and yells, these guys might shut down. He needs to still be able to be the guy that they expect from the time that they won the World Series. He can't all of a sudden turn bad guy on them, because then they might totally shut down. So he needs to still get them to play well at home. Maybe he just lets them think that this is just a home and road split. This is something that is just absolutely out of your control. You just need to play the way you've been doing, and maybe this will right itself at some point. But with that, I think you're trying to find somebody who can be a leader, and that might be Castellanos, who they gotten. But I think it comes out to Jed and Theo, just with the lack of moves that they have been making, some of the ill-advised signings. You spent money on David Bodie, and now he hasn't been able to perform at an MLB level for you this year. They were so invested in Kyle Schwarber and Albert Amora and Addison Russell that they wouldn't trade them for pitching help or more bat depth. They were getting a proven proven hitter to go out and get that. I think it's more on Theo and Jed, and even the Ricketts as well. I think Joe Madden has done what he has been able to do with this team. Now, is he worth the money that he's getting? Maybe not. But I think that Joe Madden is not the guy to blame here. I think it's mainly on the players, and then if we are going outside of the players themselves, who brought those players in and who's not letting new players come in due to money? It's the owners, and that's Theo and Jed.
Yeah, and I mean, you even got the contracts like moving forward, because like if you're gonna keep these guys around, you obviously have to have that mindset of like, okay, we're gonna have to pay this guy and then this guy and then that guy. And Kyle Schwarber, to me as a Cubs fan, has always been like the enigma in my head, where I absolutely love, as I call him when I play MLB The Show, he's the Schwar Daddy. Because I just swing with them.
Hits and dingers.
Right over, hits the dinger right over the right field wall. Who wants to watch me hit some
dingers?
Who gave you the right to give nicknames out?
Jake. Jake even says they're horrible.
Horrible nickname.
It's way better than what I call Tony Gwynn, the Gwynster.
Wow. Wow.
Twitch.tv/Most Podcast. You can come play or watch me play MLB The Show and try to win.
You've done a lot of bad ones in the fast break, too.
Have I? Nicknames?
Oh, yes.
Like what? The Red Mamba?
No.
I mean, that one's not great, but I mean, I can't think of them now because I've just blacked them out.
You're asking the guy with the
but it's kind of just like, you'll be like the Book Daddy for Devin Booker, or like the White Sided Daddy-nator. Like, it's just horrible. Like, you just add these like suffixes to these words and they don't make sense, or they're definitely not cool. If you called him Schwar Daddy to his face, he'd punch you.
I would never call him that to his face.
Then don't call him as a nickname. Like, he has one. Like, you can just call him Schwarbo.
When I'm playing MLB The Show, like,
or Schwarbs. Schwarbs is way easier.
Schwarbs works too, but
it's better.
Back to my point of he's been the enigma. He's been the enigma in my head, to where it's like, do I love the potential that he has with his bat? Do I still have that memory of him hitting the ball on top of the scoreboard in that playoff game?
Unfortunately, you're in the NL.
Yes, where we don't have the DH. And that's where I'm like...
But even then, like his bat hasn't been that good. Like, if his bat was, if he was able to draw more walks, if he was able to, actually put the ball in play a little bit more. Yeah. Well, he has a decent eye. It's just... He never is able to. He always, a big thing with him is he's always trying to kill it, or he's just trying to get on base, or he strikes out. Like, he is a true 3 outcome guy. He's hitting a home run, he's striking out, or he's getting a walk. Very rarely is he ever hitting for contact. Which, I mean, you look at the guy, why would he hit for contact? But he is not a all around hitter. He is a straight power hitter. And I think that's one thing that he needs to at least adjust going into next year, is becoming a more well-rounded hitter, because his defense isn't great, and that's definitely not a stretch at all, but it's not horrible. Like, it's definitely passable in left field at Wrigley. I mean, I wouldn't say that he is irredeemable as a fielder, needs to be put as a DH. He just needs to become a more well-rounded hitter rather than the 3 outcome guy that he is, because he definitely has the potential to be this great guy with a mix of contact and power with the eye that he does have. He never takes those pitches to right field or left field for just contact. He'll take them to left, but for power.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm just sitting here going, are we going to win the division? I want to say yes. But at the same time, like we've said, it comes down to those last 6 games in my mind, because it's good that we only have, 3 series in the division on the road. Like, besides those last 2, the only others are,
so
I think it's a 3-game think it's a 3-game series against the Brewers. Those are the only divisional games we have on the road the rest of the year. But like I look at the possibilities and what you were saying about the Cubs with the kind of like expectations. I feel like the Brewers are feeling the same thing where everyone thought, oh, Brewers and Cubs top of the division. It's like, well, maybe the Cardinals give them, but the Cardinals will be the third team where the Cardinals are out there going, hey, why not us? Like we're playing
at this point, they're playing
things
incredibly
now.
well.
To where if we lose to the Cardinals and we have to go on the road to the Nationals, I'm not scared there. The thing that I feel like we have to win the division, is because of the Dodgers. If I'm going to play the Dodgers, who, let me be honest, I don't think we win it best of 7 series against them.
No.
Because of how good they've been at home this year.
You don't beat the Braves either.
The Braves, would I pick us to win? No. But I think there's a chance that if we take care of business at home, we might be able to potentially steal a game on the road. Maybe. But that's me blue and red colored glasses, though.
Here. Is it closer? Yes, because the Dodgers are a much better team than the Braves.
Yeah.
But the Braves are still a better team. Like if you're saying which team is more likely to sweep the Cubs, it's the Dodgers. But which team is more likely to win, the a 7-game series against the Braves and Cubs, or Braves and Dodgers over the Cubs? I'd say it's probably split.
The other thing
I'd both favor them about the same.
The other thing that makes me lean more towards the Dodgers and not as much with the Braves is if we win the division and then play the Braves, it's a 5-game series, which really we only have to steal 1 game. Well, really you have to steal 1, but it's like you take care of 2 games at home, you steal 1 game. Whereas in a best of 7, I don't feel like we would get all 3. There's a chance of, okay, we'll lose 1 at home and then we got to steal 2 on the road, which I wouldn't pick us to beat the Braves. I think the Braves are playing better baseball right now, but I feel like the chances to steal that series would be higher than playing the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers, if we met them in the NLCS, they beat us easily. They might beat us in 5. 4 or 5 with how we're playing right now because our bullpen would lose every game.
Well, I mean, you can't say that the Braves and Dodgers have these crazy bullpens. They're just more talented than the Cubs. I mean, this rotation for the Dodgers is ridiculous. You have the Cy Young in the NL in Hyun-Jin Ryu, and they also have Clayton Kershaw, who isn't Cy Young level, but he's fucking amazing. He's still got an ERA under 3. He's still striking out guys. I think like in the past 5 starts or whatever for him, he's had over 10 is averaging over 10 strikeouts per game. Like, I mean, they have a ridiculous rotation, especially with those 2, and you're gonna have to face them 1-2 right off the bat, and that's 2 losses right there. And this lineup, they've been able to find everybody. Like they have this guy Will Smith comes out of nowhere, and he's hitting like 700 with runners in scoring position. Like they're
everybody
finding these guys. They have MVP type player in Cody Bellinger, and even with the Braves too, they have Ronald Acuna, who's closing in on a 40-40 season, one of the best first baseman and Freddie Freeman in the league. You have a phenomenal second baseman, Ozzie Albies, one of the best in the league as well. You have veteran hitters like Nick Markakis and Brian McCann on that team, and they have decent starting pitchers. They have Keuchel, who hasn't been phenomenal with them since coming over from the Astros and after his long stint out. But if you're saying who do I trust more right now, I trust Keuchel more than I do trust Kimbrel, and Mike Soroka has been insane for them. While the Cubs do have that, where you can look at Quintana and Darvish, I would still favor the Braves in that series. Maybe not to sweep them, but I would still favor them as probably as much as the Dodgers to beat the Cubs. It's just coming down to, again, the NL Central. The Brewers do not have the pitching at all, whether it be coming from their bullpen or from their starting rotation. They literally just have Christian Yelich, and he's won them 64 games. And with the Cardinals, they don't have consistency in their lineup. They have Paul Goldschmidt, and he went off in June or whenever that was, hitting like 7 home runs in 7 games. But they don't have consistency in throughout that whole team. They've just been able to win enough games.
They just string them together.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. They get hot, and when they get hot, the Cubs are cold. When the Cubs get hot, the Cardinals are cold. It's just been back and forth, and I don't think it's really anything on the Cardinals. They just have guys that have been there before. They have good veterans. They just don't have a killer of a lineup. They have killers. They have Paul Goldschmidt and Marcell Ozuna, but they have guys that step up in the right way, and they know how to win close ball games. They have a decent bullpen. So, I mean, if it comes down to talent and like who I'd be more afraid of, it's definitely the Cubs in the NL Central. It's just about winning some games away from Wrigley Field.
So when the chips are all pushed in, Are the Cubs going to win the division? Not win the division. Final answers from
Win
everyone.
the division, losing 4 to the Braves.
Okay.
I'll say they don't win the division, but they do make it through the wild card run.
Okay. So they'll beat the Nationals, and then same thing. They'll play the. That would be they play the Dodgers in the first round.
Yeah, I wouldn't pick them to beat the Nationals.
Here's the other thing.
If they have to face Strasburg, they're losing.
Here's the thing I'm also afraid of. And I'm going to say they win the division. That's me being hopeful. I will say that right now.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm deathly afraid
Do we
of.
get a playoff game?
And
Or a play-in?
That's the thing. Right now, the Mets are a game and a half back. The Phillies are 2 games back.
Yeah.
The Brewers are 2.5 back. In my mind, mainly because I kind of want it, but I don't.
I love
Could you imagine if we had like 3 or 4 teams all tied to where it's like the Brewers have to play the Phillies, winner of that game plays the Cubs, winner of that game plays the Mets, and then the winner of that game gets the wild card game. Like that's how it would work if we hit
an insane tie.
Yeah, so let's say
Why would that happen?
So let's say there's a 3-way tie. The Brewers, Cubs, or not the Brewers, the Mets, Cubs, and Phillies are all tied for that second wild card spot. It would be whatever tiebreaker they use. I think it's runs scored. It would be the last 2 of those teams play a playoff game. The winner of that game would play the next team, and then the winner of that would get the final wild card spot. So there's a potential if, let's say, the Mets...
So you're saying a 4-way tie?
A 3-way. So let's say the Mets...
But then how is the 4th team coming in there?
Because of the Nationals. They already got the first
The actual
spot.
wild card team.
So you've got like Phillies, Cubs. Winner of that plays the Mets.
But why does that happen?
Because
why is there a playoff to decide who plays the Mets decide?
Because of the whatever tiebreaker they use, if it's run scored, because that's how it is.
Yeah, but if it's run scored, then they'll just pick the Phillies and they'll play the Mets.
Nope, it's playing games. It's playing games for everyone who's tied.
3rd and 4th place.
If they have the same record, if there's 3 of them, they'll play playing games.
You might want to double check that
because
I don't know if
that's how baseball does. They'll just add it on. And it'll be like it's kind of like the Cubs last year, where it's like that game for the NL Central was we're playing 1 extra game of the regular season to finish this one out.
I remember that.
And like that's just how baseball does it.
Though.
And I absolutely love it.
It does.
I absolutely love it, but I would be petrified as a
the
Cub
intrigue.
fan.
It's like, do you go with your start? Do you go with your ace? But then if you go with your ace, you're down 1 in the rotation for the actual playing game.
Because it's do or die. But then you got to get to the wild card game.
But then that game, and then
I'd be going nuts. But I'm going to say they win the division just to be a hopeful Cub fan, and then hopefully beat the Braves in the NLDS, lose to the Dodgers. Sadly, in the NLCS. But let us know what you guys think down below. What's going on with the Cubs? Are they going to win the division, lose the division, not even make the playoffs? What's going on in your mind?